What is the oddest thing you thought was normal and ended up being a medical problem? I thought everyone's joints made loud cracking sounds when they moved. Like when I'd get up from my desk at school, my knees would pop so loud the whole class would turn around. I figured that's just what bodies did. Everyone else's joints were probably just quieter than mine. My friends would joke that I sounded like bubble wrap being stepped on, but I honestly thought that was normal. Some people are loud talkers, some people are loud walkers, and apparently I was a loud cracker. The popping started when I was maybe 8 or 9. My wrists would crack when I wrote, my ankles when I walked upstairs, my neck when I turned my head. My parents thought it was cute at first. My dad would call me his little Rice Krispies. By middle school, it was getting embarrassing. I'd avoid standing up during quiet moments in class because the popping was so loud. My shoulders would crack when I raised my hand. My spine would pop when I stretched. Teachers would pause mid-sentence when I shifted in my chair. During standardized tests, it was a nightmare. Every time I moved even slightly, something would crack. The sound would echo through the silent classroom, and everyone would stare. One time during the PSAT, my hip made such a loud pop that 3 kids jumped in their seats. High school made everything worse. I started timing my movements around class discussions so I wouldn't interrupt. I'd wait for the bell to ring before standing up so the noise would cover my joints going off like firecrackers. The absolute worst was during my SATs senior year. I'd been sitting for 2 hours and my whole body was stiff. When the proctor called time, I stood up and my entire spine cracked from top to bottom like a zipper. The sound was so loud, the proctor actually came over to ask if I was injured. My parents always brushed it off. They'd say I was just creaky like an old house settling. My mom would joke that I got it from my grandmother who also cracked a lot. I accepted that explanation because what else could it be? But during a college visit that spring, everything changed. We were in this fancy auditorium listening to an admissions presentation. About 200 prospective students and parents packed into uncomfortable wooden seats for an hour. When the presentation ended, I stood up and my hip made this enormous pop that literally echoed off the walls. The sound was so sharp and loud that multiple people gasped. The admissions counselor stopped talking mid-sentence and stared directly at me with genuine concern. A woman behind us whispered, "Oh my God, is that child okay?" Loud enough for half the room to hear. I wanted to disappear. My face turned bright red and I sat back down immediately, which caused my knee to crack loudly too. That night in our hotel room, my mom finally pulled out her phone and Googled excessive joint popping teenager loud cracking sounds. I watched her scroll through results and her face gradually went from curious to worried to completely white. She showed my dad the screen and he frowned. Then they both looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before, like they were seeing me for the first time. "Honey," my mom said carefully, "we're calling Dr. Klein as soon as we get home." The appointment was scheduled for the following Monday. Dr. Klein had been our family doctor since I was little, so he knew about my creaky joints, but he'd never really examined them closely. This time was different. He had me move my arms, legs, neck, everything. With each movement came the familiar symphony of pops and cracks. His eyebrows kept rising higher and higher. "Can you touch your thumb to your forearm?" he asked. I did it easily, something I'd always been able to do. "Can you bend backwards and put your palms flat on the floor?" Again, no problem. After about 20 minutes of tests, he sat down and said, "I think we need to see a specialist. What you're describing sounds like a connective tissue disorder." 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a rheumatologist's office getting the most thorough examination of my life. The doctor moved every joint in my body, measured my flexibility, and took detailed notes about every pop and crack. Finally, she looked up from her clipboard and said, "You have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Your connective tissue is hypermobile, which means your joints are unstable and move beyond their normal range. That's what causes all the noise." She explained that most people's joints don't sound like a percussion section when they move. Normal joints might crack occasionally, but not with every single movement like mine did. Now I wear braces on my worst joints and do physical therapy 3 times a week. The popping hasn't stopped completely, but at least I understand why I've been a human popcorn machine my entire life.